9 swords. That is how many swords were destroyed in one battle by the hands of a single man. Not because the weapons were weak, not because he was careless. They broke because the fighting was so violent, so intense, that steel could not survive the force behind his strikes. This is the story of the Battle of Mutah, a battle where only 3,000 men marched to face one of the greatest empires on earth. A battle where commanders fell one after another. A battle where a former enemy of Islam rose in the darkest moment and became one of the most feared generals in history. But surviving the battlefield was not the end of their pain, because when these soldiers returned home, they were not welcomed as heroes. They were called cowards. Some hid inside their homes for days, unable to face the shame. How did that happen? And how did one desperate retreat become the beginning of a legend? Welcome to the story of Mutah. To understand this battle, we must travel back to the year 629 CE. The deserts of Arabia burned under the sun. A lone rider moved north toward Syria, carrying an important letter. His name was al-Harith ibn Umair al-Azdi. He was not a soldier marching to war. He was an envoy sent by Prophet Muhammad to deliver a message to the governor of Busra. In those days, even enemies respected one sacred rule: do not kill the messenger. Empires fought wars. Tribes took revenge. Blood was spilled for generations. But envoys were protected. They were untouchable. Then came a man named Shurabil ibn Amr, a ruler allied with the Byzantine Empire. He ignored that rule. He ordered al-Harith captured, bound, and executed. The message never reached its destination. When the news arrived in Medina, the city fell silent. Not the silence of peace, the silence before anger erupts. This was more than murder. This was an insult, a challenge, a declaration that Muslim lives meant nothing, and the response would come fast.
Prophet Muhammad ordered an army to prepare. 3,000 men gathered. That number may sound small today, but for Medina it was enormous. A huge portion of the city's fighting men were now marching north. Everything depended on this mission. Then the prophet did something very important. He appointed 3 commanders in order. If the first fell, the second would lead. If the second fell, the third would take over. First, Zayd ibn Harithah, a trusted companion and one of the earliest Muslims. Second, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, the prophet's cousin, respected, brave, and loved by the people. Third, Abdullah ibn Rawahah, a poet, a warrior, and a man of deep faith. The army set out. Days passed, then weeks. Heat, exhaustion, dust, long roads with danger ahead. Then shocking news reached them. The Byzantines knew they were coming, and they were preparing a massive force. Some reports said 100,000, others claimed 200,000. Modern historians debate those numbers. Maybe it was lower, maybe 10,000 or 20,000. But imagine standing there and seeing endless lines of soldiers, banners, horses, and spears stretching into the distance. At that moment, numbers no longer matter. Fear does.
The Muslim army stopped. Many were shaken. Some said they should return. Others wanted reinforcements. This looked like certain death. Then Abdullah ibn Rawahah stood up. He reminded them that battles are not won only by numbers, weapons, or armor. He said they fought with faith and conviction. Then he gave them 2 possible endings: victory or martyrdom. His words changed the mood. The hesitation faded. The army moved forward, toward Mutah, in present-day Jordan. Toward an enemy far larger than themselves. Toward a battlefield that would be remembered forever. The two armies finally met, and chaos exploded. Men crashed into each other in waves. The noise was terrifying. Steel striking steel, horses screaming, war cries in different languages, dust filling the air. Bodies packed so tightly, many fighters could barely swing their weapons. At the center of it all stood Zayd ibn Harithah, holding the banner. The banner was more than cloth. It was the symbol that held the army together. Where the banner stood, men rallied. Where it fell, panic could spread. Zayd charged forward. He did not hide behind others. He entered the fiercest part of the fighting. Then the enemy struck him. Spears, blades, arrows. He fell. The first commander was gone, and the banner began to drop. Before it touched the ground, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib seized it. He was known for courage and presence. When men saw him, they found strength. He pushed into battle carrying the banner high. The enemy surrounded him. They attacked from every side. Then his right hand was cut off. He grabbed the banner with his left. Then his left hand was cut off. Still, he refused to let it fall. He held it against his chest with what remained of his arms. Bleeding. Surrounded. Still standing. When he was finally killed, they counted his wounds. 90. 90 injuries from swords and arrows. And not one was on his back. Every wound was on the front of his body. He never turned away. He died facing the enemy. Now command passed to Abdullah ibn Rawahah. He picked up the banner. For a brief moment he hesitated. Even the brave feel fear. Even the faithful feel the weight of death. Then he spoke to himself, urging his own soul forward. He charged into battle. Minutes later, he too was killed. 3 commanders. All gone. The army was breaking. Men were pulling back. Confusion spread everywhere. The banner was in danger of being lost. And if no leader rose now, everything would collapse. A soldier grabbed the banner before it was trampled. He shouted for the army to choose a leader. One name rose from the ranks. Khalid ibn al-Walid. This choice was shocking. Why? Because Khalid had once fought against the Muslims. At the Battle of Uhud, he helped turn the battle against them. Many Muslims had suffered because of his military skill, and he had only accepted Islam a few months earlier. Now, in the worst moment possible, the army placed its survival in his hands. He took the banner, and history changed. Before we continue, if you enjoy powerful true stories from history, subscribe now and turn on notifications. More legendary battles and warriors are coming soon. Khalid did not freeze. He moved fast. He reorganized the scattered soldiers. He strengthened weak points. He brought discipline back into chaos. And then he fought. Later, Khalid described that day. He said 9 swords were broken in his hand. 9 swords. Think about that. These were not toys. They were forged for war, made to survive battle. Yet one after another, they shattered. Imagine the sound. Iron cracking, shields splitting, armor struck again and again, the screams of battle all around. Now imagine being the enemy. You already killed 3 commanders. You expect the smaller army to collapse. Instead, one man keeps coming. A sword breaks. He grabs another. That one breaks too. Then another. Again. 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 By the 5th sword, victory no longer feels easy. By the 7th, fear begins. By the 9th, you are no longer hunting them. You are trying to survive. But Khalid knew something important. He could not win a direct battle against a larger force, so he chose something smarter. He would win with strategy. When night came, he changed the positions of the army. Left side to right side to left, rear units to the front, fresh faces in new places. At dawn, the enemy looked out and saw what seemed like a new army. Different soldiers, different formations. They suspected reinforcements had arrived during the night. Then Khalid added one more trick. He sent cavalry far into the distance. They dragged branches behind their horses. Huge clouds of dust rose into the sky. From afar, it looked like another army was rushing in. The Byzantines hesitated. Uncertainty spread. And that was all Khalid needed. Khalid ordered a disciplined withdrawal. No panic, no collapse, no wild escape. The army pulled back in order. They had marched into danger as 3,000 men against a giant empire. And they left alive. Some companions had fallen. Great men had been lost. But the army itself had survived. The mission had shown something powerful. The Muslims could stand against mighty empires and endure. But their hardest moment was still waiting. Back home. When the army returned to Medina, people ran out to meet them. The soldiers hoped for comfort. Instead, they faced anger. Many people saw only one thing. They came back alive while their leaders did not. Dust and sand were thrown at them. Voices shouted, "Cowards, runaways, men who fled battle." Imagine surviving a nightmare like Mutah, watching friends die, fighting impossible odds, only to return home and be humiliated by your own people. Many soldiers lowered their heads. Some went straight into their houses. Some stayed hidden for days. The pain of the battlefield was easier than this shame.
Then Prophet Muhammad came out. The crowd became silent. He looked at the angry people. Then he looked at the soldiers, and he defended them. He said they were not cowards. They were men who would return to fight another day. Those words changed everything. The shame lifted. These men were not failures. They were survivors. They had stood before impossible odds and lived. And Khalid received a title that would echo through history: the Sword of Allah. The Battle of Mutah was not a clear conquest. No huge territory was taken. No final destruction of the enemy happened that day. But something bigger was born. A message spread across the region.
This new force from Arabia could not be ignored. They could fight major powers. They could endure heavy pressure. They were rising. And Khalid ibn al-Walid was only beginning. He would later lead armies in campaign after campaign, against rebels, against Byzantines, against Persians, battle after battle, victory after victory. Across more than 100 battles, he was never defeated, not once. And the road to that legend began here, on a brutal field at Mutah, where 3 commanders gave their lives, where an army refused to vanish, where 9 swords broke, but 1 warrior did not. History is filled with moments like this, where courage, sacrifice, and strategy change the world forever. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe now, like the video, and share it with someone who loves history. Comment below. Would you have stood your ground at Mutah or retreated? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.